I just got back some comics from CGC that were signed at Heroes Con this year. Stay tuned as we do an unboxing, we find out the books, and we find out what grades we got. Welcome back, comic book fans. This is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and today we have another CGC unboxing. These are books that I got signed while at Heroes Con this year, little over a month ago. So yes, once I did the con, got the books in, submitted. It's been just under a month to get these back in my hands. I'm pretty excited about this. A little nervous. I'm always nervous, especially because one of these books in here was one that I cracked open. It was a 9.8 copy, and it had already been signed by the writer, but I wanted to get one of the pencilers, and we'll get into that book when we get in here, and I'm hoping we retain that grade. But these were the modern books that I got signed. I still do have 2 Jim Steranko comics out, and I'll do an unboxing on that as soon as that gets back in. It's still in the process of being graded, so we'll get that back in pretty soon. But for now, we've got these books, and I'm not sure how many I've got in here. I think, if I remember right, there were 7, but don't hold me to it. We'll open it up and we'll figure it out. And I didn't pull the list of what I got signed, so I remember a couple of them right off the bat, and there's some of them. Wait a minute, which one did I get signed? So let's get into this right now and find out what we did. How did we do? Alright guys, I've got the knife. Let's get into this box. Let's find out what we've got and what grades we got in here. Now it's pretty late in the morning when I'm filming this, so excuse me if I make some mishaps as we go along. It seems like it's really funny. Whenever I get a CGC box back like this, it's one of those nights where I had to work extremely late. And we are right in the middle of Prime Week with Amazon, and I work for Amazon. And so we're out there fulfilling the customer promise of getting you your products and your purchases. And it's a big commitment, and Amazon does a great job at that. And it asks its employees to step up, and we actually work an extra day during that week. We normally work, well, my shift, I work 4 days a week, but we're working a 5th day this week so we could accommodate all the orders that came in during the 2 days of Prime this last week. Now, when you see this video, this is probably going to be about a couple weeks old, so you know exactly when I got these books back in. But let's get into this. I'm rambling a little bit and trying to give myself a buffer when I start messing up on the video here, but let's get into this. Got the top of the box here, and I'm seeing the books, and I'm going to not look. Believe it or not, guys, I've only once in all the orders I've ever went and ordered with CGC have I looked at the grades ahead of time, and it was purely by accident. I mean, how many times a day do you just click on the button when it says shipped, and you want to see your books and you want to know when they're going to get there? And I knew they were shipped, and I hit the wrong button. I accidentally saw a couple of the books on the grades that I got, and since then I've been really good about not peeking. So I'm going to try not to. Alright, I didn't see the grade, but I saw the book, so I know which one I'm starting with here. And I'm just going to go through the books. I'm not going to be giving you guys values. I probably will just talk a little bit about each book and maybe a little bit about the experience with each artist. Maybe we'll see how it goes and see how I feel like doing this right now. So it's going to be, we're flying by the seat of our pants. We're going to start off with this one right here. It is Captain America #6. This is the first appearance of the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier, Steve Epstein artwork. I believe this is Brubaker, right? Writing this, and that's a shame. I remember the artist before I remember the writer, but obviously this was a pretty big book. It has come down in value over the last few years. This book for a while there, Rawls and near mint were well over $100, and now you can get this thing for definitely less than $100. But Steve Epstein was at Heroes Con, and it's an artist I've gotten before, and I've actually owned some of the Captain America pages from this run, and this right here was a really good book. I picked it up. In fact, I had this book in my collection, and I got it graded. I got a 9.6, and I ended up selling it at a pretty good price at the time. And this was probably a year and a half ago. But I ended up picking this copy up in one of, I think, my LCS. They had some wall books, and I thought it was a pretty decent price. look pretty good in condition, and so I'm taking a shot on it. It really is just, this is one I'm hoping we'll get that 9.8. I thought it was going to be a little tough, but let's just do the grade. Oh, you can see the Steve Epting signatures down here in the bottom along the white area. Okay, I don't want to forget that. That was actually the most important thing about getting these, is getting them signed. Grade is going to be great too, but let's just get into it. Here we go. Ooh, yeah! Oh my God, I was so excited. This right here was, I didn't think it would get there. It was a little bit of, I wouldn't say tick, but the spine didn't look exactly the way I'd like, but this is better than my copy, my original copy. I only got a 9.6 on that, but got a 9.8. I had a good eye then at the LCS when I picked this up. Let's take a quick look at this. Yeah, and it is Ed Brubaker who wrote this, but wow, isn't that good? Let me see if I can go in just a little bit. You can see his signature right down there. And there was hardly a line at his table, but to be fair, this was a Friday night, and it was about 10 minutes before we were about ready to leave the show. The show was ending. It literally was ending. I had literally spent 3 hours, and my wife and I split the time, but in line for Jeff Smith of Bone, and it was taking forever to get through that line. And you need to have a CGC witness, and they're not going to just stand there in line with you for 3 hours. So Luis, who was the representative of CGC, gave me his number and basically says, hey, when you get up to the table, 3 or 4 people from him, call him or text him, and he'll come back over to the table to witness the signature. And that was with Jeff Smith, and I got the signature. Oh, he got there at the table. We stood there and chatted. It was still taking forever. Jeff Smith was doing sketches for everybody and signing everything for free. And it took forever, even though there was 3 people in front of me. But Luis hung out with me, and then we looked at the clock, and I said, hey, we got 10 minutes. Do you mind running over to Steve Epting's table to see if he's still there? I've got 1 book. And so we ran over there, and he was sitting there, no problem at all. It's always been very pleasant. I've met him now twice now. Once was a couple years ago at Heroes Con. And at that point, it was nice to get some of the original artwork signed. And we talked about his techniques with the ink wash and the techniques that he used on this. And I'm literally watching myself talk to you about this book, and the book isn't even there. Sorry about that. But we got a 9.8 off of this, so that is a groovy start. Man, that is awesome. Now, I've never seen Ed Brubaker do signings or anything, so if you guys know if he ever does signings, let me know by leaving me a comment in the comments section. I'd love to know that. Okay. I think I'm going to save this book for the end. I know which book it is. This is the one that I cracked out at CGC. 9.8 version of that copy. The writer has already been signed on it. I'm going to set that over to the side down here, and I'm going to move over. Oh, okay. All right. I'm hoping the grade meets my expectations. This is a book I fell in love with last year, and the reason I fell in love with it was by a pretty good artist to begin with. It was a character I really liked, but they did 2 variants of this book where it was the same image, basically, but flipped, and it had 2 different costumes from 2 of her identities. And I don't know if you guys can figure it out yet by the way I'm talking. I'll just show it to you. It is Daredevil, number 29, and you can see this one here. This is the Elektra cover. And you can see this is by David Nakayama, the cover. And now I've got another one in here. It's going to be the matching pair to this, but it will be in her Daredevil persona. And it was really neat meeting him. He was at the Unknown Comics booth, and just a really nice guy. He seemed very down to earth. Most of these guys, most of these artists really do seem very down to earth, and they're willing to talk to you, and I think they appreciate us being fans of their art and getting to talk to them and everything. And this was a book, like I said, I fell in love with it last year when I ran across it, and I ended up getting both of these copies, this one and the Daredevil version, graded. I got 9.8s. They set in the collection. But when I saw that he was showing up at Heroes Con, I didn't have a lot of time. They didn't do an announcement that he was going to be there until maybe a couple weeks before the show. So I didn't have a lot of time to get new copies of these in. And I did buy a couple new copies. And luckily, they were really pristine copies. I'm just hoping they are, because these covers are really tough. They pick up scratches or blemishes. It seemed real easy. But let's just do the grade and find out. Yeah, baby. I love it. That's awesome. Hopefully the other one will get a 9.8 too, but picked out a really good copy. And let's zoom in on that just a little. You can see David Nakayama's signature right there. I can't say that's much of a signature, but it is his signature, so we'll just go with it. But that is gorgeous. Wow. That is awesome right there. Let's see if the next one is... Let me see if they put them in order. And they did. So here's the other Daredevil. And as you can see, she's in the the Daredevil costume that she took on while Matt Murdock was in jail. And here you can see the signature down at the bottom in the exact same spot. And let's just do the grade reveal on this one. Whoo, yeah! Oh my god, that is awesome. That is awesome. But these aren't really valuable. But I didn't care. I love these. This is awesome. I got reflection all over the place here, guys, but that right there is going to go on my wall someplace. I don't really put up my slabs on the walls, but man, I love this cover. I don't know what it was about this cover, but I just actually really adored it. And as I said, getting to meet David Nakayama was pretty cool. Getting the experience to go around with CGC during that time was an interesting thing, the way they were handling it. And it was a challenge. And if you guys get a chance, check out my daily recaps from all 3 days at HeroesCon this year. At the end of the video, I'll mention it again, and I'll put a link up there where you guys can take a look at it. But you'll see me talk about the books that I got signed and my experiences and everything. So that was just awesome. Okay, trying to remember what cover this was. The next one here is XMen number 3. Okay. Oh, and it's still David Nakayama. And I'm going to have 2 of these in here. And I picked these up at I guess it was one of the local shows. And I remember, I think I paid $10 a piece for both copies of this. And this, of course, is X-23 as Wolverine. It is the virgin cover, which is a little bit more valuable. This one is a book that I completely got to get signed to resale. I liked it a lot. I just didn't like it as much as I did that Elektra cover. It just didn't do it for me. Maybe it's because I've liked Elektra and she's been around a much longer. Who knows? But let's see how we did on this one. I'm starting to get nervous now. There we go. Got a 9.8 on that. And as I said, this is a book I got to sell, to recoup some of the costs from the other books and the signing and everything. And this is a book that if you guys are interested in, just let me know, because I would not have a problem parting with this. Although it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look at the yellow cover with the yellow up here. You can't tell me that this would have looked better, well, unsigned, but with a universal blue up here. I think this yellow on the yellow is really nice. That is so cool. And we'll see if they kept these in order. Yeah, they did. So we got the second one in here. So I ended up getting 4 things from David Nakayama that night. And as you can see, his signature right down there below her feet. And let's do the grade reveal. There we go. 9.8. So again, this is a book. If you guys are interested in, just reach out to me. collectorauctions@yahoo.com. DM me on Instagram. Anything like that would be fine. And all of these are Unknown Comics variations or variants. So you know that they do really good. In fact, they had a lot of the other covers there in the comics, and really, I just didn't have the time to go through and start buying them. They did have some ones of Magic I really liked, but at the time, I just never made it back around to the table to make a purchase from the table other than to do the signing part of it. Okay, we're going to save that book too because that kind of goes hand in hand with the last one. Okay, so this is one I actually talked about a little bit about getting. I did go see Jeff Smith, who's the creator of Bone, and this right here, I ended up pulling out of my PC. This is Bone #1, but it is the Image Comics Bone #1. It's not the original #1. But even the Image Comics version is pretty valuable at a high grade. And I didn't see a lot signed out there on eBay. So this is one I'm taking a shot on to see what kind of grade we'll get. And I don't know. I don't know what the market is on this right here. I mean, his line, yeah, it took forever because he was signing for free, but it was enormous, and it was like almost like a cult of fans showing up for Jeff Smith. It was really cool. I mean, I like Bone, but I never got into it that much or anything. So maybe I'm just missing something. But regardless, I had this on my PC, and I ended up getting him to sign it, and I will zoom in as soon as I do the grade. He signed up here in the trade dress area. So let's see, because I know this was a rough book. I don't expect a 9.8 on this, but we'll see how we did. Yeah, that's exactly what I kind of, really the best I could have hoped for. It was a little, there was a little bit of rub on this almost entirely black cover, and I'm not going to be able to show you this with the reflection, but front presented really nice. I think there was some there's a little bit of color rub around the staples and stuff, but 9.6 on that's really good. I'll be interested to see once I get a chance to look this up and see what is a fair market value on this. This right here is pure speculation on my part, and it was super exciting to get him to talk to him for a few minutes, and he ended up, let me zoom in on the trade dress here so you guys can see it. He did kind of a little remark of Bone up there. That is really nice. Actually, it is really nice. And he ended up doing a little sketch card for me as well. So, and I think I showed that to you on the video when I premiered the video. So, then we're down to 2 books. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 books all in all. There's 2 more, like I said, 2 Jim Steranko books that we'll get into on a future video. But these 2 right here have something in common, and I'll show you what it is. We'll start with this one. This one I got signed completely at Heroes Con. It is Wolverine #1. Was it 97 or 98? 1988. John Buscema artwork. You've got Chris Claremont. Of course, John Buscema has been gone from us for many years, but Chris Claremont is still kicking and signing and telling stories, and telling really good stories, by the way. Anyway, this was a really good copy. If I remember, I picked this up down at Trilogy Comics down in Norfolk, Virginia, and I thought it was a spanking copy. And I'm really hopeful that we get a good grade on this, but we're going to find out. It's got that really black cover on that spine. So let's just do the grade and hold my breath. I'm happy on so many different levels, because when I picked this up, I mean, I was paying fair market value for this. This wasn't a special deal or anything, but I thought it was a really good copy. And man, that's really nice. Man, that is, it's so awesome. And that is tough. I had this on my PC. In fact, I think I had a couple, and the best I ever got on any of the ones I graded out of my PC was about a 9.6. And of course, you've got this wonderful John Byrne illustration on the back. Luckily, the spine is white on this side. I dare say that if it was reversed and the black was over here, I think that would be really tough. Really tough and critical to keep in pristine condition. It would pop out. Any defects would just pop out. But this is so awesome. Yeah, I have to look that up. I don't know what... I know that just a regular 9.8 was pretty valuable. And getting a signed one with Chris Claremont, I'm sure adds value to it. I just don't know how much, but man, that is awesome. All right, so that brings us to the last book. And the common denominator here, it is Chris Claremont. He'd already signed this book, and I had gotten it graded. I think I sent it into his CGC signing, actually, and got it back, but the artist was appearing at HeroesCon. Now, I didn't know that Chris Claremont was going to be at HeroesCon this year when I did all this prep work to bring this book. Let me show it to you. It is X-Men number 213, and if you recognize this, this is by the artist Alan Davis. Alan Davis had signed up early to be at HeroesCon. I'd made this. I didn't think I was going to get a chance to see Chris Claremont again, but he was doing a CGC signing. So I sent in, finally got a copy of this book. It's been a big struggle over the last year and a half of getting a copy of this that was in pristine, near perfect condition to get that 9.8. I finally got that 9.8. With a signing, with the book I sent to his signing. Got this back, and I'm going, okay, the full intention of taking it to HeroesCon, crack it open there, and get Alan Davis. And I didn't know how that process was going to work, and I can speak to that a little bit. Maybe in my closing, I'll talk a little bit about the CGC witness, the difficulties that we had in that. I'll go over that a little bit. But we cracked this open. They put it into a protective sleeve and sealed it with their seal. That way I could carry the book around, and when I got a chance to go to see Alan Davis, I would just call the witness back over, and they would come over and witness. They would open it up and hand it to the artist. They wouldn't go back in my hands at all. And then they would just put it back into the envelope, put a new seal on it, and either give it back to me at that point. And when I got ready to submit all these books, then they just take the books at that point. But let's see if we retained. I'm really nervous. I mean, I've taken chances on cracking some things that have been opened before, that have been signed before, and then regraded. But let's see how we did. Yes! Yes! Ooh! We got that kept the 9.8. I was so nervous about this, guys. I was so nervous that once they took this out and they put it in a protective sleeve, and I had it in my possession for almost two solid days before I finally got Alan Davis to sign this, I was nervous that that constant movement might do something to the book and damage it. But we prevailed. We got the 9.8. We've got Alan Davis on there, and it's hard to see, actually. He's signed in black, and it's right up here in Sabretooth's hairline right there. Of course, Chris Claremont is up here in the trade dress. That right there is awesome. This issue, actually, this is the other big important thing on this, besides the cover, really, with Wolverine and Sabretooth, their first major battle on cover, is Psylocke joined the team on this one here. So that is the big significance on there. But I'm so relieved. Thank goodness that it all worked out. And I would say this was a perfect submission. This is what I expected, to be honest with you. I expected a 9.6. Hope that I wouldn't go lower on that bone issue. I knew there was a little bit of a defect that would not get that 9.8. Everything else on here, I kind of figured it was going to be that 9.8. And this was a near perfect presentation of comics. I'm super stoked, and I will be stoked to see what we end up getting on those two Jim Steranko books when we get those back, hopefully in the next couple weeks. So guys, that was a great unboxing. I am super stoked about this. Got some great books in here, great PC books. It feels good to know that all the effort that I put into prepping for HeroesCon this year, and then basically it was a day and 3/4 of going around and getting these signatures and dealing with CGC and getting witnesses from them to go with you to tables with artists and getting them to witness things. It was a struggle. It was a long day. And when I say day and 3/4, I literally, I had 2 hours at the end of day 2 on Saturday to actually start looking for comic books that I bought. And then Sunday, I did that as well. But the whole time was spent dealing with CGC, going around with them, well, trying to get a witness. Trying to get a witness on that first day, that Saturday, was very difficult. It turns out they only had 3 official witnesses there with them. They had their big booth set up. You can see that in the video when I shot some of the footage there. But they didn't have enough witnesses, and it was driving people nuts. You'd literally stand in line at CGC just to wait for a witness. Well, it finally got to the point where there were other representatives of other companies there. I think it was Capture Collectibles has a really good working relationship with CGC. They were right next door. That's where they would have. They had some artists there. I know Scott Hanna was there, and they had some other artists at their table. I think that was where John Romita Jr. was going to be as well. And it was right there near CGC. And one of their guys is sitting there watching this line just build at CGC. And he literally came over. And as a kind of representative of CGC, I guess an affiliate with them, he ended up, like, who do you guys need? Because he was going to start taking people out to witness the signatures too. They can witness the signatures. They work with CGC to be able to witness these things. Well, there was about 5 of us. We all needed Jim Steranko, and that was the very first artist that I ended up getting signed. And like, just to get off the slide and let's go get something signed. And literally, this guy from Capture Collectibles, I knew his name, and I cannot remember right off. We walk over to Jim Steranko's line, and we line up, and basically we just had to wait for him, and he wasn't going to wait there with us for long, but the line was a little long. So the very first guy, he gave him the phone number so he could call him back over, and we go around the loop of the line, and we get up there, and right as about 2 people before our group was going to get Jim Steranko, finally the representative came back over. Of course, we're all getting kind of nervous because we don't want to just stand there and not get something signed. It's a waste of everybody's time. We need that witness there, and it was very frustrating. And, well, we got through it, and we got Jim Steranko, and from that point, you just kind of went from artist to artist by going back to CGC and getting your witness and going out again. And it was a struggle, and it was a long, long process, and made longer by the lines. Like when I stood in line for Chris Claremont, I mean, I got a couple other things signed as well besides that Wolverine. But when I got up there, I needed a witness for the Wolverine here. I had to have somebody there. And luckily, his line was right near where CGC was, and they were able, by day 2, and I got Claremont on day 2, they were able to put a witness up there near the table. And they did the same thing with Roy Thomas, and because their lines are just so huge, they could literally just stay there all day and witness things, and it's what they kind of did. Other ones, I don't want to say smaller artists, but there was less demand, and there weren't going to be a CGC witness at every table. You had to work with somebody to get them there. And like I said, I appreciate Luis, I believe that was his name. He had a whole group there at that last 3 hours on day 2 when I got Jeff Smith, from Bone, David Nakayama, Steve Depthing. He basically took our group, and we went around, and we everybody had similar wants. They needed book signed from similar people. So what we did, we kind of went into a region, and he would drop us off at each table and kind of come back and witness the signature. And it was a little, I don't know, jumbled up. It was a little frustrating, but on the other hand, we appreciate the effort they put into this. And as I said, Luis was real good about coming back for me, because he dropped me off in the Jeff Smith line, and it was hours later. He almost completely forgot that I was still there when I texted him, but he was real good. He came over, as I said, and did that, and then we ran and got Steve Depting. Well, that was day one for the most part. Day two, it ended up being a Claremont that took a long time in his line. And I'm trying to think. Oh, and the last signature I ended up getting from that CGC witness was Alan Davis. And that was crucial because this was actually the first book I wanted to get signed. This was my main mission for HeroesCon, was to get this signed by Alan Davis and get it regraded and hopefully keep that 9.8. Mission accomplished, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle because of CGC and their lack of witnesses. That's what I'm getting at. But I learned a lot, and I'm hoping by the time we get to Baltimore's Comic-Con in September, that I'll be a little bit more seasoned about being able to get CGC to come out and witness things, and maybe I may be a little bit more selective on certain things, but definitely looking forward to doing this experience again. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Jim Steranko books did, and I'm really happy to be able to show that to you as well. But let me know what you think about this unboxing, what you think about my books, and if you have any comments about the whole experience, just leave me a comment in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys and see what you think about these books and everything else I've been talking about today. And if you're ever interested in any of these books as well, hey, just reach out to me. I mentioned it before, collectorauctions@yahoo.com, or DM me on Instagram. It's easy ways to contact me. And before long, I will end up probably listing at least the David Nakayama's, the Wolverine, the X-23 Wolverine covers. I'll probably end up listing those on my eBay store. You guys, there's links below for my eBay store and my Shortbox page. Any of the books I have for sale, just reach out to me. If you're interested in anything, just let me know. And that's it. I am tired. It is really late at this point because we went long at Amazon, like I said. I'm going to crash. I'm going to get a couple hours sleep. I'm going to go to a little mini con that's happening down a few miles away. I hopefully will pick up a few good books. And then after this, I'm back at Amazon working one more day for this Prime, for you guys. I'm trying to help you guys get your Prime products into your hands. Anyway, guys, take care. Have a great night. I will see you for the next episode. And remember, every comic has a story.